when did you join the party? How exactly did you personally kind of become a member of the Communist Party?
Well, when I came out here in 1968, one of the things I did the first summer was nationally well, that's not true, but during much of the McCarthy period, there was no youth organization nationally, or various efforts to start one. So growing up in St. Louis, basically in St. Louis, the party was not, I wouldn't say non-existent, but not terribly functional. There were a few people, and my parents weren't meeting with it for some odd security reasons that I think were mistaken. So I didn't actually grow up knowing they were in the party. I mean, we're Marxists, read papers, but we didn't get the party paper. We got the Guardian and other stuff. I did a little for current events class. One of my projects was I read the manifesto and gave a class report on it, which was kind of an odd little moment. And there was one other thing in current events class. There was a discussion of the war in Vietnam, and there were two of us in the class who were opposed to it, and everybody else was supported it. So we'd have debates. I don't know, right? That was probably '66, first year in high school, I think, 65 or '66. So they were, you know. I guess I always did have a political bent. So I came out here, and here they had continued having youth camps every summer. So a couple of weeks, 2 weeks after I got here, I went for a week-long youth camp, which, you know, they did hikes, played games, collaborated on, you know, fixing dinner and stuff like that, but also had some political education.
And this was sponsored by the Communist Party, the youth camp? Or
Well,
was it just...
in effect, yes. I mean, it wasn't a big public thing, but it was mostly family and friends and family of friends and that kind of thing. And it was, I don't know, there were 30 or 40 teenagers. And for me, it felt like home, because it was the politics that I'd always grown up and been familiar with, but it was kids my own age. And so it felt, which I hadn't really had much of that kind of connection in St. Louis. So it felt like home to me. It felt, oh, this is great. It's political, and it's also kids my own age, so they're going through the same things I'm going through, rather than, you know, I grew up relating a lot more to adults than mostly to kids my own age. So that felt great, and about a year later, in May of 1969, I was invited to be a guest at a state convention. I think it was May 30th, 1969. And the second day I joined, and they voted to suspend the rules because the joining age was 18 and I was still underage. So they voted to let me in anyway. So that's, I figured out earlier today, it's about 33 years ago.